Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm Sassafran238.
I'm the other guy.
And today we're going to be looking at all the multicolored artifact and land cards in Unstable. But before we get started, we'd like to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page. So if you like these videos, you want us to make more, head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. We'd really appreciate it.
You know what we're gonna do here? We're gonna evaluate the cards for limited, draft or sealed. And like we said before, these cards are silver bordered, so they are not tournament legal.
Yeah, and we're going to be evaluating them according to our three-tiered system, and by now you should know what this three-tiered system is. We're going to be looking at our golden narwhals. If we evaluate a card like that, that means it is a limited bomb. It's unconditional removal. These are the cards that would be winning us the game. Then we have the silver platypuses. Platypi. These are the cards that are really strong, push you into color or auto-include if you're already in that color. And the bronze squirrels are our filler cards. And finally, all the other cards, we're going to put those aside because they're either bad or too situational. So without further ado, let's have a look at the common cards.
The first common is Secret Base. It's a land and can tap for colorless, or can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And you can spend this mana to only cast a spell that shares a watermark with Secret Base. And the Secret Base will have all the watermarks of all the orders and everything.
Yeah, all the factions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So over here we have the one that belongs to Agents of Sneak, but there are going to be multiple different ones. So it depends what you open.
Exactly, and that's why I don't think it's like really wants to put it in, because we're going to play with a lot of different cards, so that's why I put it aside.
Yeah. Then we move on to Curious Killbot for 2 mana. It's a 2/1 Killbot, vanilla, doesn't do anything. It's a bronze squirrel just because it does fill in that position of a filler card. It is a 2-drop that can trade with bears, so it does do that most basic of jobs, but it's simply not fancier than that. But yeah, you could still play it. It is just a filler card. It just fits also because it doesn't have any mana requirements. It fits in every deck. So it's nice to have it. Have access.
It does
to
have mana requirement, no color.
Sorry,
requirement.
no color requirement. Absolutely, you're right.
Next one, Mad Science Fair Project. 3 mana artifact. Tap roll a 6-sided die. On a 3 or lower, target player adds colorless to his mana pool. Otherwise, the player adds 1 mana of any color he chooses to his mana pool. 3 mana, just tap to add 1 mana. Most of the time, of 50-50% of the time. Colorless, all the time, any color you want. But do we really need that mana ramp in this set? I don't think so. That's why I also put it aside.
Yeah, a bit risky. I love how you can pronounce this in 2 ways. You say Mad Science Fair Project, and I say Mad Science Fair Project.
It's a science
cool.
fair project. So
but it's also a Mad Science Fair Project, you know? It's those 2 things. I love it. All right, next we have Voracious Vacuum, of course, a play on Voracious Worm. For 3 generic mana, it is a 1/1 host creature construct. And when this guy enters the battlefield, we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So essentially what it could be, of course, most basic form, it's going to be a 2/2 for 3. But of course, it can also be a 1/1 and make one of our other things a little bit bigger. So normally, of course, we don't want to be paying 3 mana for a 2/2, but because it doesn't have any color requirements, thanks, Stefan, it does fill that bronze squirrel point, because it's also, at the beginning of the game, it is a 2/2 for 3, but later on in the game, it can pump, your creature with evasion or something that might be something with trample, which makes it slightly better. So that's why it's just on that edge.
what I do like about how they fixed this with the since it's an artifact with the host, the artifact is now just somewhere in the middle of the text box. So it will always be an artifact, even if you augment something else on it.
Yeah, otherwise it would cover the part where normally artifact would be
Exactly.
written. Yeah, good point.
No Made Machine. 4 mana, it's a 2/2 artifact construct, also on host. And when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. Bronze Squirrel, it's a 4 mana, 3 power body.
Yeah.
Like 2 power and a 1 power. So
Spread
yeah,
over 2, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. There's nothing bad about it,
No, it isn't as exciting, but it's still a Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah, these are the cards that, of course, get much better when you're going hard into Augment and Host, but still Bronze Squirrel, even if you don't have any other Host cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Augment. Sorry, even if you don't have any Augment cards. Those are the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons. The first of our uncommon cards is an entirely normal armchair. Nothing to be suspicious about this. It has no converted mana cost. Why? Because we can play this from our hand by hiding it on the battlefield whenever we want. So it doesn't cost any mana. We just take it and we just sneak it. We just put it on the battlefield somewhere. Unfortunately, if our opponent spots the card, they can pay 0 mana to return it back to our hand. So if somebody goes like, you know, I see you, that's a card, you put that down, you're not supposed to do that, then it goes back. But should they not, and they do attack you with a creature, you can pay 2 mana, sacrifice entirely normal armchair, and then destroy target attacking creature. So of course, this is awesome for shenanigans. You're going to be seeing people playing one card and then playing this card underneath it to sneak them on the battlefield. You're going to have people saying, oh my god, is that Celine Dion? And then, you know, putting the card right there on the battlefield. You're going to have all these kinds of shenanigans. And of course, the effect is actually really nice because it is removal. It's going to be destroying outright a creature that's attacking, and it's going to come as a complete surprise because people don't know that you have an entirely normal armchair on there, which is actually going to bite them in the butt.
Exactly. They won't notice it because it's just an entirely normal armchair.
Yeah, and they don't even see it there. Yeah. I mean, well, unless they see it, and then they get rid of it. So that is definitely a silver platypus right there.
Yeah, and I like it because it's also like a homage to Cheaty Face that they all had it before.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Very nice.
Cogmenta, 1 mana, it's a 1/1 no trigger, and it's flying, and for 4 mana, reassemble target contraption you control, and move to another one of your pockets. Just put aside, 1 mana, 1/1 flyer is not good enough, and for 4 mana reassembling, I don't think that will also do enough.
No, it's basically speeding up your trigger one time, but that's 4 mana. That's quite a bit for just speeding up something that you'd normally get anyway at the beginning of your upkeep.
It's just too much.
And a 1/1 flyer for 1 is also no good. Then we move on to proper laboratory attire. And this very looks like a very nice little outfit right there. For 1 mana, it's an artifact equipment. Equip costs 2. An equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has protection from die rolls. Now, of course, we have seen a bunch of cards that say roll a die and then deal damage to target creature equal to the die rolls, equal to the difference between die rolls. We've seen all this kind of stuff. So yes, it does have a purpose. However, the purpose is kind of situational. And the power and toughness boost is also just too little for the cost of the card. I'm not even talking about the equip cost, but just the fact that you need to put this card into your deck and not put in something else, I think is much too high for what you get. So we're going to put that one aside.
Yeah, even though still put a side card, but you forget that nothing that lets a player wall a dice can block. So that means that creatures that make something wall a dice can still not block.
Yeah.
So...
Okay. Still situational.
Exactly. It's still situational and still you don't play it. But it's important to know that you cannot block with something that makes you roll dice.
And remember that these cards that we put aside because they're situational, they still count as your sideboard. So should in the first game it turn out that somebody went mega heavy in die rolls, then you can always sideboard it in.
Exactly. Then you have an unblockable creature because all their creatures are die rolling creatures.
Yeah, and they can't target that creature with their die rolling stuff. So then, put them in.
Yeah. Low Blobber. 2 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature has tapped. This creature deals 1 damage to target player. Roll a 6-sided die. On a 5 or higher, untap it. Equip costs 2. 1 damage to a creature, to a player, not even a creature.
No, creature would be good. Yeah.
Creature, then it would be good. But only a player, no, just put aside.
Yeah. I mean, technically, you think to yourself, hey, when a creature is very small and he can't attack anymore, then all of a sudden with this one, I'm going to get some utility out of it. But you can also just put something else that will have utility later, and then you don't need to pop this card in there. Next up is Steel Squirrel. For 2 mana, we get a 1/1 squirrel, and then whenever we roll a 5 or higher on a die roll, he's going to get +X/+X till the end of turn, where X is the result, which basically means he's going to get +5/+5 or +6/+6. So that is, of course, huge. But the question is, how often is that going to happen? And is it worth it? And I don't think it's going to be worth it because the times that it's going to have to attack, it's going to be a lot of turns before it does anything. And then people can always chump block, and the rest of the time it really doesn't do anything. It does say, though, for 6, roll a 6-sided die, but that is a lot of mana. That is a lot of mana for the off chance because it doesn't even get it. It doesn't even get anything if you roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you don't even get like a little bit. It just really does nothing. So I think it's kind of risky. Put it aside.
Exactly. 6 mana and 1/3 of the time it does something.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you got Earl of Squirrel, then you go with this one, then all of a sudden it's a 2/2 for 2, but then of course it would only be late games. Also no good. No, never mind. Bad idea.
Quark's Other Thumb. 2 mana, Lenzian artifact. If you roll a die, instead roll 2 of those dice and ignore one of those results. It's a bond squirrel because a lot of cards, have die rolls, and then ignoring one of them is really powerful. Even though it still costs a card to play it won't do anything when it comes in, there's enough die rolls to warrant this.
Yeah. Of course, if you play a deck with no die rolls, then it goes without saying you don't play this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then we go on to Robo, and it is an artifact creature construct, and it's an augment card for 2 mana. It's going to give the host creature +1/+1 and replace the enter the battlefield trigger with, at the beginning of each end step, if an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, then the triggered ability happens. Now, it doesn't happen that often. Sure, this is a set which cares about artifacts. We got the contraptions. It happens frequently, but does it happen so frequently that this is worth playing, going heavy into augment? I don't think so. The +1/+1 is also negligible. You may say, the cost of 2 is also negligible, but I think it's just not a very, it's not going to be a trigger thing which is going to happen enough times to warrant the inclusion of this card. So put it aside.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap, but it just doesn't do enough, and that's the whole point. Stamp of Approval, 3 mana artifact. A Stamp of Approval enters the battlefield, choose a watermark. Creatures you control with the chosen watermark gets +1/+1. Like we said before, you have to have a lot of those watermarks, and most of the time you will not have enough. Just put aside.
Yeah. Then we move on to Staff of the Letter Magus for 3 mana. It's an artifact that it states that when it enters the battlefield, we're going to choose a consonant other than N, R, S, or T. And then whenever a player casts a spell, you gain 1 life for each time that letter is in that spell's name. So we're going to join us on social media where we're making a list of the best letters to pick for this Staff of the Magus. However, I don't think it'll do you much good because I think you should probably just put it aside.
Yeah, you don't really want to play it. But like you said before, life gaining. No.
And does nothing else now.
Yeah, and it just doesn't do much life gain either. So Clock of Doom.
Isn't it Doom?
I don't know.
It's Doom, I think. If you look at the amount of O's.
Or maybe it's like uniformly Doom.
But then it should be a little bit longer, I think.
It's as long as it can be. That's the thing.
All right, cool. Let's find out what it does.
For 4 mana, an artifact, and then 4 mana tap, move the crank counter of your contraption deck to the next pocket and crank any number of that pocket's contraptions. Now this is pretty cool because you can crank twice as fast actually. Every turn you can crank twice instead of once. So Bronze Squirrel, I actually be really excited to play this, but still it depends on your contraptions, and even if you don't have that many, doing it twice as fast is also really good. Yeah,
very nice card. I like it. Then we go to Border Guardian for 4 mana. We get a 1/1 artifact creature knight. Now this guy states that whenever you cast a silver bordered spell, we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. And whenever you cast a black border spell, this guy can't be blocked this turn. Highly unlikely, so you can pretty much disregard that line. And whenever you cast a white border spell, until the end of the turn, he gets double strike. Now, that's also not going to happen. So in essence, it's basically saying that whenever you cast a silver border spell, this guy's going to grow. I think we should put this one aside. Why? Because it's going to come in turn 4 at the earliest. Then turn 5, we're going to give it a +1/+1 counter. So on turn 6, it's going to attack as a 2/2. Is that really what we want? I'm asking, is that really what... Okay.
No.
I'm getting a bit excited. It's probably the heat from this towel that's starting to give me fever dreams at this point. You have no idea how hot this is. All right, next card before I pass out from heat stroke.
Contraption Cannon. 4 mana artifact. 2 mana sacrifice Contraption Cannon. It deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of contraptions you control. 6 mana, deal damage equal to contraptions. You will have to have a lot of contraptions to make it work, and I don't think... it's good enough. I think you can better use any other removal. Yeah,
if it would say equal to the number of artifacts you control, then we'd be in business, because then it would count itself as well, and then...
Well, it's still the count, because the cast is sacrificing.
No, it's still no good. Not good. Not even that saved you. Not even my fake trying to make the card better saved it. Next we go Buzzing Wackadoodle for 4 mana. It's an artifact. It says when it enters the battlefield, you and an opponent each secretly choose Whack or Doodle. Then those choices are revealed. If the choices match, then it does that thing. It's going to have a list of stuff below. And if it doesn't, it has Buzz. So basically, if we both said, okay, we choose Whack, then this thing can tap to have target player lose 2 life. If we both choose Doodle, then it can tap to gain 3 life. And if one of us chose whack and the other one chose doodle, then it's going to be pay 2 mana, tap, draw a card. So basically what we're going to be picking this one every single time is we're going to pick whack. Because if our opponent also picks whack because they know that we like the best thing, then it's going to be tap, target player loses 2 life. So that's not too bad. Every turn being able to deal damage. I mean, it's not the ideal thing, but that's okay. And if somebody tries to think, oh, this person's going to be sneaky and go, they're going to want butt, so they're going to go doodle. So if I go doodle, then they have the option tap, gain 3 life, which is the worst. You don't want that one. So by trying to trick you, you're actually going to get pay 2 mana, tap, draw a card, which is what you would really want. So that is actually the best case scenario.
Yeah, exactly. It's even like whack would be the worst case scenario, and it's still 2 unblockable damage every single turn, and that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but that at least makes it that you can never get stuck with doodle.
Yeah,
which you don't want.
So a bronze scroll, pretty good. Steam powered, artifact creature construct, augment for 4, and +0/+4, and it has 5 mana to trigger the activate ability. So it's a mana sink, and if you would have 10 mana, which is highly unlikely, then you can use it twice a turn, but most likely every turn you can use it once. But you have to use the mana every single turn, and I don't think that's good enough because the host abilities most of the times do not warrant putting 5 mana into
5
it.
mana is a bit much for most of the host stuff.
A lot of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Even the best one, which I've seen, is just draw a card. That you're still okay. That's the best one.
The best one is still coming.
Is the best one still coming?
Destroy.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's coming. I see. Okay, that was totally weird. Next, we have Lab Robot. For 5 mana, it is a 3/3 artifact hound. When it enters the battlefield, we're going to return target host card or card with augment from our graveyard back to our hand. I think it's too situational. I think we put it aside because it doesn't get back an artifact that I would love. Doesn't get back a creature that I would love. Just a host or augment. It means it pushes you so hard. And once again, this is a perfect example of situational card. If you are going 100% host and 100% artifact, 100% host and 100% augment cards, yes, of course you're going to put this in. It's going to have plenty of targets. But if you're just building a generic deck with the cards that you've got and it's all a little bit of everything, then this thing's just not going to do enough, especially for 5 mana. It's a bit steep.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the last of the uncommons. Now let's have a look at the rares.
The first rare we're going to look at is Water Market. It's a land and can tap for 2 colorless to your mana pool, and you can spend this mana to only cast spells with watermarks. And there are a lot of watermarks in this set, so I think it's good enough to always play this, and Silver Cloud Boost just gonna play this.
Yeah, what's important to note is that other cards that care about specific watermarks are less good, and this one doesn't care what watermark, it's just any watermark, which is why it makes it so good.
Exactly.
Then we move on to X. I think this may be the card with the shortest name of all. It's for a blue and a black. We get a 2/2 legendary human spy. And X is kind of complicated, but it's also a very interesting card. Basically, as long as X is in its owner's opponent's hand, so basically as long as it's not in your hand but in your opponent's hand, then you're going to be able to use X's abilities, and you can also cast X from your opponent's hand. And your opponent plays with his or her hand revealed. So what's really cool is that first, of course, you play X, so you put it on the battlefield. Then you can use X's ability, which is for a blue and a black, and tapping it, put X in the target opponent's hand. So you can't do that immediately because it doesn't have haste. Then once it's in our opponent's hand, we get to see what they have, and we're able to play with X's abilities, and that's the second one is then becomes relevant, and that is for 3, a blue and a black, you may play a card in the same hand as X without paying its mana cost. So that's super awesome. You're going to have it in your hand, pay 2 mana, goes to the battlefield. Next turn, you're going to pay 2 mana, put it into your opponent's hand, see what they got, and then next turn, or the same turn if you have 5 mana, you can start playing their stuff, which is super nasty, kind of complex, but also, I mean, what an awesome mechanic.
Yeah, exactly, because they can't cast it from their hand, so they cannot get rid of it easily. And then you, for 5 mana, just cast any spell from their hand.
That's nasty, huh?
That's
really
nasty.
A spy card if I ever saw that. This pushes you hard into blue and black. That's Golden Narwhal.
Golden Narwhal. If you see this, you really want to play this.
Absolutely.
Better than 1. What's better than 1?
2 heads, I think. That's why we do this together.
Is that it? Green and white, sorcery. A person outside the game becomes your teammate. Choose any number of cards in your hand on top of your library, or on the battlefield under your control, those cards become your teammate's hand, library, and permanents, respectively. So, respectively. Difficult. So, you're just dividing up everything you have into 2 piles, and you're both gonna play with this.
Yeah.
And I don't think it warrants that you're losing a lot of resources yourself. So I don't think you want to play this.
No. You may think, oh, we're going to do everything half, and then we've got twice as many card draw, which of course ideal scenario. So then both of you, of course, are drawing cards, so you essentially get twice as many cards per turn, and your two-headed giant player who's going to be joining you is going to be helping you out as best that person can. But the problem is, if you do this too early on in the game, what you also are doing is you're essentially halving your mana, because if you want your pal to have just as much mana as you do, you're halving your mana, and that means your opponent is going to be playing spells which are twice as powerful, which is of course a dangerous situation. The only time that this would actually be handy is when your mana flooded later in the game and you have, your 20 lands on the battlefield. You can be okay, here you go, you got 10, and then it becomes efficient. But what if you don't get to that point?
I don't think I'll ever get to that point, because there's more lands and I won't be playing.
That's actually true. 18. All right, so put it aside. Then we move on to Handy Dandy Clone Machine for 3. It's an artifact that allows us to pay 2 mana and tap it to create a 2/2 colorless homunculus creature token, but it must be represented by a unique hand and 2 fingers at all time, or it ceases to exist. There's no shenanigans of fake hands or gloves or corpses or anything like that. It's got to be real hands.
So corpses are real hands.
You put your hands, yes, but they have to be attached to a human, and the human needs to be alive. I looked it up. So no murdering people. So we got 2. Yeah, it's been discussed for some reason that these things need to be discussed. So you got to have those 2 fingers up like that in every turn. So essentially, you can only have one of these per at any point in time in the battlefield, because you'd need the other hand to hold your cards. But it doesn't say anything about not having other people outside the game coming in and representing those homunculi. So I say just start
like your corpse friend,
which is alive for some reason. So just ask people to come and be like, hey, can you put your fingers over here? Can you be my tiny little homunculus? I'm sure people want to help you out. So that's actually pretty cool, being able to create a creature every single time. A 2/2 for 2 is pretty decent, so I'm going to go with Silver Platypus.
Yeah, a 2/2 for 2 every single time.
Nasty.
Every single turn. Yeah. Split Screen. 4 mana artifact. When Split Screen enters the battlefield, shuffle your library and deal it into 4 libraries. If anything refers to your library, choose one of your libraries for it. Play with your library's top cards revealed. And when Split Screen leaves the battlefield, shuffle your libraries together.
Strong.
Yeah, you get 4 choices which you can already see. And then you can pick any of them.
It's too much of an advantage.
It's great. Yeah. It's so great. Golden Normal. You're gonna play this. You're gonna draft this really highly. Play it.
Yeah. I'm at a loss for words at how powerful it is if on turn 4 you pop this down, and then from that point onwards it gives you such an incredible advantage in card selection.
Exactly, and this is how strong it is, because it's not gonna do anything the turn comes in, and we don't like that, especially this late. But this effect is so strong that we have to.
Yeah, if they don't get rid of this, it's basically going to make sure that you can win the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then we have Every Thingamajig for 5 mana. It's an artifact which allows us to pay 2 mana and tap it to move a counter from one permanent onto another. If the second permanent refers to any kind, then it becomes that kind that it requires. And if not, then it just becomes a +1/+1 counter. Also for 3 and tapping it, we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And finally, you could pay 4 mana and tap it to proliferate. Now, there are +1/+1 counters, and there are other kinds of counters in this deck, but I think paying 5 mana and then paying 2 mana to only move a counter from one to one is just unacceptably expensive, and paying 5 mana and then 3 to put just one +1/+1 counter on something is also way too expensive. And then finally, proliferating would be nice if not for the fact that you're not going to have so many cards with all +1/+1 counters that it would actually make it valuable, or other counters, that proliferate actually gives you enough value to warrant the 9 cost in the mana. So I'm going to put that card aside.
Yeah, so expensive.
Yeah.
Kindslaver, 5 mana legendary artifact. 5 and tap and sacrifice Kindslaver. A person outside the game controls target player during the player's next turn. Neither player may device that person until the end of that turn. So you choose someone else that's outside this game, and that player will take over the next player's turn. But will that player help you? Will the player actually play well? You won't even see any of the information. So I don't think you want to play this just put aside. Too risky.
Yeah, it's also you're paying 10 mana for this effect. Let's not forget. Plus this card, I mean, it makes it seem like it's like Mindslaver because you expect to say, hey, it's kind of like that one card that says, do you like squirrels? You get a squirrel. And people are just going to be like, yeah, I like squirrels, you get a high five. But because instinctually, people will say, yeah, I like squirrels. But with this card, when you give another person control over the cards, instinctually, they're going to try and make the best play because that's what people are used to. People are used to grabbing the cards, playing Magic, and doing the best they can. So if somebody asks them, will you play this turn for me? And neither party is allowed to advise them. What are they going to do? They're probably going to play as best they can. Even if they know what Mindslaver is, even if they know what you expect, instinctually, they're more going to lean towards playing as best they can. So I think it might actually bite you in the butt.
Exactly. So it's only playable, and it's still really expensive, if you have a friend that knows how to play, knows what to do. So it
knows especially what not to do that.
Exactly. So that you don't have to tell him anything or her anything.
Yeah, good point.
Griselda, Monster Masher. 3, a red and a blue, black. It's a 4/4 zombie villain, and combined, enchanted and equipped creatures you control have menace. For 3 black and a red, tap, put 2 target creature cards from the graveyard onto the battlefield combined into 1 creature under your control. And that means that its power is equal to the total power, its toughness equal to the total toughness, and has the names, mana cost, types, and tag boxes all combined. This is actually really cool because it doesn't have to be only from your graveyard, and it can be like a really big, really interesting creature that has some really cool abilities that are already died. Yeah. So Golden Narwhal, it gets something back that's so strong, and it's already pretty strong on its own.
Yeah, exactly. Just a 4/4 for 5 mana is really decent. And just late game, paying 5 mana to get that combined thing, you could be, you could get a small creature with evasion and a big creature with some other cool ability. You stick it together and it's a big creature with evasion.
That's the point. You don't even need evasion because Griselda
already
gives
menace. Yeah. That's unfair.
Get a big creature, get another big creature, get even bigger creature with menace.
Sweet. So sweet.
Golden Narwhal.
Absolutely. Cramp Bunker is next for 4, a red and a green, so for 6 mana. It's an enchantment that states at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player moves a permanent he or she controls to touch this card and no other permanents. Then, if he or she can't, destroy each permanent the player controls that isn't touching this card and then sacrifice it. Okay, now we've had a long discussion about this card, way into the night. Frankly, I don't remember much of it, but the point that it came down to is that people will have one of two choices. You pop this card down, and they will either have to play with as many cards touching it as possible, so every time just using a smidgen of their card and making sure it doesn't touch any of their cards, to put as many of their cards to touch it, because after all, even the cards that are touching can still untap, can still attack, can still do everything. So you make sure they touch as many as possible to make sure that you can beat your opponent before any of your cards get destroyed. If you feel like that the game will take a little bit longer than, let's say, the 8 cards that you can possibly put against it, then what you want to do is destroy as little cards as possible. The fewest number, which means you're just going to put one horizontal over this card halfway, and then you're going to put the other one horizontal, and then you wouldn't be able to add any more, and then you destroy those 2 cards. So essentially, you would destroy 2 of your cards on that side.
Exactly. Those 2 won't be touching. We're like, oh, I can't do it better.
Yeah, but what I don't like about this card, I think, you're destroying 2 permanents with 1 card. But the problem is that they get to choose. They choose the worst thing to destroy, the thing that's going to have the least impact, that 1/1 with an enter from the battlefield ability, which already did its purpose. So that's why I think just put this card aside. I'd rather have some more limited removal that actually gets rid of what I want to get rid of than having our opponent being able to choose what to get rid of.
Exactly. We want to choose what to remove.
Yeah.
Next one, Hotfix. 4 and a white and a blue. It's a sorcery. You have 10 seconds to look at and rearrange the cards in your library. At the end of those 10 seconds, if you're touching one or more of those cards, shuffle your library. For 6 mana, you can rearrange any of the cards. Most of the time, you kind of know what is in your deck, what are your answers, what do you need. So I think it will be like searching up 3 cards to change the whole turn of the event of the game. And normally 6 mana, you won't do anything. It's not good enough. But now you can pick whatever you want, and this is what you draw in those orders. And for like even 3-4 cards, that's doable in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's a golden hour for me.
Yeah. I definitely think you can look for those cards in 5 seconds and then make sure. So look for them in 5 seconds and then use the remaining 3 or 4 seconds. You just put them in the right order. And even if you don't get them exactly, I mean, you know exactly what cards you're going to get in the next couple of turns. It's going to be super strong anyway.
Yeah. So before playing this, you want to know what you want to get in your deck.
It's got to be in your head already. And the countdown starts at the moment you touch the top of your library, and then you start searching. So make sure, just think to yourself, okay, I want at least this, this, and this, and maybe a land. Think that in your head, and then you go, open it, look for them, pop them on top, and then you're golden.
Exactly.
Marry or kills, of course, a play on marry, shag or kill, I think is the right terminology. For 5 and a hybrid mana, either black or red. So for 6 mana, it's a legendary creature, human villain. She's a 5/5, so 5/5 for 6 is not a lot of big creatures, so I think that already is very, very strong. Additionally, she has this ability where for 1 and either a black or a red, so for 2 mana, we can switch a killbot or this card from our hand with the battlefield, which means that works both ways. So if we have a killbot on the battlefield, we've seen a few killbots. We have it on the battlefield, we can just pay 2 mana and then switch it, and it means we don't need to pay 6 mana, which is pretty sweet, which is a very cheap way of getting a 5/5 on the battlefield. What we could also do is, of course, have a killbot in our hand, and then if somebody would use targeted removal to say, I'm going to destroy Mario Kill, you say, pay 2 mana, I'm going to switch it now. Instead, you actually just kill one of my lowly killbots, and you didn't kill my awesome 5/5. So very versatile, works in 2 very nice ways, I think. Silver Platypus.
Yeah, and also really interesting to think about is that they do not leave the battlefield or enter the battlefield. So that's what you have to be worried about.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, if there's counters or something like that on it, that stays on the thing that's on the battlefield, which means that if it was on the killbot, then now all of a sudden it's going to be on Mario Kill, those counters.
And if you have multiple killbots and attack with multiple of them, then you can switch Mario Kill with one that isn't blocked.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, cool.
Modular Monstrosity. 7 mana, artifact creature construct, a 3/3, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may have 5 seconds to choose a keyword you haven't chosen for a card named Modular Monstrosity today that has been printed on a creature card. If you do, Modular Monstrosity gains that ability, otherwise Modular Monstrosity loses all keyword abilities. This is pretty cool, and what you have to remind yourself, like, what can I use, what will I use, and what order. And it's not every turn in your turn, it's every time an opponent casts a spell, which is at least once a turn most of the time.
Yeah.
So a golden narwhal, and we will share what we discussed in the social medias.
We did already, actually.
Did
so
you
already? Yeah, so you're going to have to go a little bit behind. You're going to have to scroll where we have where we have the post where we have the list of 6 or 7 keyword abilities that we thought were the best and in the right order.
Yeah.
There is one thing that I need to add, which is important to remember, which we didn't put in the social media post, is that you can add keyword abilities that have a number attached to them, which means that, but it has to be one that has been printed on a card. So it is possible to call Annihilator 6, for example, in which case that when you attack with Modular Monstrosity, your opponent would need to sacrifice 6 permanents before they're even able to block. Additionally, keyword abilities that share a word in it, like Land Walk, those are all separate. So you can give it Island Walk, you give it Swamp Walk. So those are all separate ones. If you're running out of ideas and you have to really quickly choose one because it's 5 seconds, they just go down that list. If you just want to make sure you don't lose your awesome Modular Monstrosity, which already has a flying, a double strike, I don't know. The whole list is on the social medias. And yeah, so make sure you got a list and be prepared when you've got Modular Monstrosity out.
So you have to research.
I've done a little bit of research, yeah.
That's actually interesting because, I don't know, I do want my Modular Monstrosity to have an Annihilator.
Yeah, Annihilator 6.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then you can't give it Annihilator 2 again afterwards. So that is limited. But one time Annihilator 6 is pretty much enough.
Exactly. Maybe we have to revise it then.
Yeah, sure. All right, then we move on to the last one. That is Angelic Robot for a whopping 8 mana. We've discussed already 8 is a lot of mana, so this thing better do something good. It is a 4/4 Host Angel. It is an artifact with flying, and additionally, when it enters the battlefield, we're going to destroy target non-land permanent. Okay, this is the card that Stephen was talking about. That's like the best host creature. But then again, for 8 mana, it better be good. And it is good, because the 4/4 flyer is already really decent. I'm already happy playing 6 mana for that, and I don't mind paying an additional 2 mana to be able to destroy target non-land permanent. Can we get to that mana? I don't know. But if we do, we've pretty much won the game. So that's a golden narwhal.
Exactly. If we do, then we destroy something, get a 4/4 flyer, and if we augment it, it's getting even better.
Yeah, but again, at the point in time of this game, when you're playing this, really be having augment cards still in our hand.
Most likely not. Or
Most likely not.
they'll be dead in your hand the whole game.
Exactly. Also, just play it for what it is. It's awesome. Those are the rares. Let's have a look at the mythics. The first of our mythics is the Grand Calcutron for a white and a blue. It is a legendary artifact. This is not a creature. This is just a plain old artifact. And when he enters the battlefield, our hand is going to become a program. And also our opponent's hand is also going to become a program. Okay, so what is a program? It basically means we're going to reveal our hands, and then we're going to put the cards in order. And then we can only play the first card in order. And every time that it's the end of our turn, we're going to, at the beginning of a player's end step, if we have fewer than 5 cards, we're going to draw equal to the difference. So we're always going to have at least 5 cards in that program. And whenever a new card comes in, we can put it anywhere in that program. So we can't order where that card comes in. But after that point, when we play spells, it always has to be the first one in our program. And our opponent also has to do that. So this is, of course, a card that if you are a really good player, it benefits you so much more than if you are a poor player, because having this the same access to the same power level cards, being able to put and plan ahead so much better than your opponent will give you a great advantage. However, it is also a symmetrical effect, and I think if you're just a regular player playing with the same stuff as everybody else, you want to have an advantage, and this card with so much symmetry does not give you that advantage. It still costs you mana and a card, so I would say put it aside unless you are really good player.
Yeah, and also with removal, you have to like plan it out, and everyone will see what you're getting. So I don't really want to play with this.
No.
Or Buzzbug X.
I mean, you do obviously because you're a really good player, right?
I do want to play with this,
Yes.
but I don't think it will.
You don't want me to play with it. That's what you.
Oh, I want you to play with it, so I don't have to cast it. So I get benefits.
That's
of it.
evil. That is just evil. Also, a little reminder that, of course, these cards are legal in Commander until the 15th of January 2018, and it has been errata that the Grand Calcutron can be your commander.
Really?
It can. And what's also important to remember is that when we're playing with this program in order, that does not, it only counts the cards that we're playing from our hand, which means that our commander, that's from the command zone, we can still play that whenever we want. Cards with flashback from our graveyard, we can just still play that whenever we want.
Yeah, that's interesting. All Buzzbug X, a red and a green. It's a legendary goblin warrior, a 2/3, and when all Buzzbug enters the battlefield, roll X 6-sided dice on the battlefield from a height of at least X inches. For nomadic people, an inch is a smidgen more than 2.5 centimeters. And for each die, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the result on each creature you control. The die is touching. For each die, all Buzzbug deals damage equal to the result to each creature opponent controls. The die is touching. If you do not use the ability, it's a 3/3 for 2, and that's really insane. And else, it can be removal, it can be pumping your creatures, it can do a lot. And what I'm actually really excited about is bringing a really big die, like the fluffy pillows, and just like rolling on every creature.
Yeah. Probably goes against the spirit of the game, but yeah, that's it doesn't say anywhere that it has to be regulation sized dice.
Fun set doing some weird stuff.
That's true. Get those fluffy dice from your car and just pop them on there.
No, look bigger. Think bigger. The whole battlefield.
Yeah, what's really fun about this is that what makes it so strong is that it's not like an effect that says, all right, roll dice, and whichever dice are touching, those permanents are destroyed, because that could come and bite you in the ass. But it's literally, if it hits your stuff, it's good, and if it's their stuff, it's bad. I mean, that's just that's just win-win.
Yeah, so it's all good.
And it's good early game. You just pop it down for 2 mana. It's a 3/3. And late game, you just start rolling dice like your life depended on it.
Exactly. Golden Narwhal, really cool.
Yeah, perfect card. Then we go on to Sword of Dungeons and Dragons for 3 mana. It's an equipment with an equip cost of 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from rogues and from clerics. Also, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, we're going to create a 4/4 gold dragon creature token with 20. And we're going to roll a d20, and if we roll a natural 20, we're going to repeat the process. Every turn, being able to, even if we put this on our 2/2, then we're going to be attacking with a 4/4 with protection from stuff that's probably not that relevant, but still being able to attack with a 4/4. And if they don't block it, we're going to get a 4/4 dragon, which is going to end the game super fast. So in essence, this is a card that wins games as well. Golden Narwhal all the way.
Yeah, just the whole thing is like a bit of pump. Getting 2 at eventually getting a 4/4 dragon. What more do you want?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Baron von Count. 1 black and a red. A 3/3 human villain. Baron von Count enters the battlefield with a doom counter on 5. Whenever you cast a spell with the indicated number on its mana cost, text box, power, or toughness, move the doom counter 1 numeral to the left. So it's counting down.
Yeah.
And when the doom counter moves from 1, destroy target player and put that doom counter on 5. So if it after you play something with 1, it gets off the card and then puts it back on 1, and you
on 5.
On 5, sorry, and you destroy target player, which is really fun to say.
Yeah, it is nasty. Huh?
It is nasty because it's like the numeral and its mana cost in the text box,
power,
toughness, all these kind of things you have to look at, and that means you have so many options.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't say anything, it's still 3/3 for 3.
I love this card.
Yeah.
Tell us right now if you guys want us to build a commander deck with Baron von Count at the helm, because I think I'd be very curious to see whether this could actually be kind of competitive, even still with all the unstable cards, of course, to make it kind of silly as well. But I think you could realistically kill a bunch of people with this effect fairly fast.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because you have especially with red and in black, for example, you could have a 1 mana costed spell that says deal 5 damage, for example, something like that, and then you could cast it early to go from 5 to 4, but you can also play it later to move the counter from 1. So there's a lot of ways that you can have spells doing double duty or even triple duty, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So let us know if you want us to build that unthemed commander with deck with Baron von Count at the helm. Next we have Phoebe, Head of Sneak for a generic, a blue, and a black. So for 3 mana, we get a 2/3 human spy. This guy can't be blocked with creatures with flavor text. Now, there's quite a lot of creatures with flavor text, not as many as creatures with explanation text, but still reminder text. Sorry. But you know, there's going to be a good chance that this creature is going to be difficult to block. And additionally, for 2, a blue and a black, so for 4 mana, this creature is going to steal target creature's text box. That is super nice, which means not only do we, it's not just copy, we actually literally take the text box from them, we put it on Phoebe, and now she has all that stuff, which is really, really awesome. The problem is that she can't do it again afterwards because it replaces the information that we have over here, I think. Steals text, or is it in addition to? That creature loses all text, flavor text.
It gains them, so it's like hoarding, like a dragon.
Well, it makes it even nastier because that means that she'll be able to continuously add every turn more and more abilities.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not a tap ability, so you can use it whenever. And if you
instant speed,
and more than 4. If you have 8 mana, steal 2 people's text boxes. Just so cool.
All the craziness.
Yeah, Golden Narwhal, especially with all the good cards and all the cool abilities. This is so great.
Yeah, very, very strong. Then we move on to Dr. Julius Jumblemore for 2, a green and a white. So for 4 mana, we get a 4/4 legendary creature. And of course, the joke here is that, as you can see over here, it doesn't have any type, but that's because Julius Jumblemore is every creature type. Of course, they could have put in Changeling if they wanted to, but they didn't. Then it also states that whenever a host enters the battle, or host card enters the battlefield under your control, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card with augment and combine it with that host. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Once again, it's already Silver Platypus, just already because it is a 4/4/4. So that makes it playable. Even if you got no host card, no augment cards, doesn't matter. But of course, it is fun that if you do go a little bit, if you do draft this highly or early, to go into that host and augment card, because it actually allows you to get exactly those cards you need to combine. And otherwise, augment cards are so picky, it makes it a lot more difficult. But this is a lot of fun. This card, and Silver Platypus just by itself.
Exactly. And it can't be a changeling because it's not changing. It's just everything mashed together.
Changelings are every creature type at the same time.
But it's not because he's changing. He's just everything mashed together. And changelings are like creatures on their
constantly
own.
Okay, flavor-wise. Okay, no, I thought you meant game-wise. No, okay.
Flavor-wise.
Flavor-wise, they change. Yes. This one's just everything.
So the last one, Urza, Academy Headmaster. A white, a blue, black, red, and a green. Legendary Planeswalker, Urza. It comes out with 4 loyalty counters, +1. You have to, for the +1, -1 and -6, you have to head on to askurza.com and you have to click the respective abilities. So we don't know what they're doing yet, but
we can guess.
But you really want to play with, because it's an unplaneswalker. It will do some really cool stuff, and I think it will like change up every turn, so it will be like interesting. But it's still 5 of all the colors, but if we can, we're gonna play it.
Yeah, it's really on the fence because you just don't know what it's gonna be. So we're just gonna make up some stuff right now. We're gonna press +1. The +1 is gonna be target opponent tells a knock joke within the next 38 seconds. If they can't, put a +1/+1 counter on 1 or 2 of your own creatures. So then we have the -1 ability is stand up, do a little dance. If you get an applause from at least 2 people in the room, we're going to destroy target non-land permanent, except if it's an artifact. And then the -6 ability is going to be cluck like a rooster. Then if somebody else in the audience also clucks like a rooster, target opponent goes down to 1 life. I think those are pretty good abilities, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's cluck like a rooster or chicken. Sorry, so that could be both possible. But either way, yeah, it's probably gonna have some funky stuff up there. But we won't know till the 8th. So
yeah.
But we've got an inkling. Planeswalkers are always good, and Urza's probably. I mean, he's pretty powerful, right? According to the lore. I mean, he's able to do a few things.
Yeah.
A few things. So we'll see. We'll see what that. All right, those are the Mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, as usual, all the strong colors are in the multicolored cards because, of course, they're more difficult to cast, so they pump it up a little bit. Sure, there's some exceptions, which we say put those aside, but in general, as you can see already, just basic with the creatures, power and toughness is already higher, so you want to pick these not super early because they really push you into a combination of cards which you may not want to lock yourself into very early on in the draft. But of course, if you do get something like Phoebe ahead of Sneak or something, or Baron von Count, you're going to start to try and aggressively force yourself into those colors. Not that that's the best strategy, but probably you're going to want to do that because it's just
how I do it.
So much fun. Yes, exactly. All in all, I think in general, the set, I think I was a bit, I entered the look at all the cards with trepidation. I thought to myself, well, I wasn't going to say I'm a serious Magic player, but I do like my Magic with logic and rules, and I thought this is going to go all crazy, and it did go all crazy, but the thing is, I think it has a lot of space for, if you can just let go of that and just try and embrace the silliness of it, as we have clearly done in these videos. I think you're going to find that it's actually a lot of fun to draft, and especially if you can get a slightly larger group together, or ideally be able to go to your local F&M location and play there with a lot of people who are like-minded. I think it's going to be, you're going to have a lot of laughs.
Yeah, exactly. Just have fun, play with your friends, enjoy your games.
Yeah.
And I was already excited before we looked at the cards. And looking at the cards, I'm even more excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna really enjoy this set, and I hope all of you do too.
Exactly, and good luck while drafting.
Yeah.
You may need it. I also would like to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page over on patreon.com/budgetmtg decks. So if you enjoy these videos, if you think to yourself, hey, you know, those guys, they put a lot of effort into getting those things on their head, you know, and dressing up like weirdos, I'd like to give them a buck. Just for as little as $1 per month, we'd really appreciate it. Help out the show. Everything that we've been able to do for this channel has essentially come from our support from our patrons, so we really appreciate them. All these lights, we got better lights now. We can see us. I don't know if it's better that you can see us better, but we have them now. Sound equipment is better, installation, all that stuff is all thanks to our patrons. So a very special thank you to all of you, because we couldn't do it without you. And also join us on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram, because we share pictures there and comments. And of course, we like, for example, that modular thing. We're going to be talking about words that you should use for Hangman, for example. All that stuff's going on our social media, so join us there for that information. And also, of course, subscribe to us here on YouTube for the most powerful decks and advice everyone can afford. Also, if you do that, don't forget to hit the little bell button, because then you'll get notified when a new video comes out. I guess that is it. I am Sassafran238.
I'm that other guy.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.